I'm not able to see your face, but that's fine.
I'm driving. So
that's the new normal.
yes.
Meeting as you go.
Yes.
All right. I think as we wait for others, probably we can know each other quickly before we start. So Christine, I guess you are calling from Mombasa.
Yes, yes, I'm from Mombasa, yes. In fact, in Kwale, Matuga.
Matuga.
Yes.
That is deep in the regions of Kwale.
Yes, Kwale.
Ah.
The region of the South Coast.
Okay.
Yes.
From Kalro.
Yes, from Kalro, Matuga.
That is a branch of Kalro Mutwapa.
Pardon?
Is it a sub-center of Kalro Mutwapa?
Earlier on it used to be, but after Kari became Kalro, we have also been into different institutions because we are now an organization. So we have horticultural institutes, which is Matuga and Kandara. Then we've got industrial crops, which is Mtwapa. The headquarters is Mtwapa, and then it covers others. Then we also have a livestock institute, which its headquarters is in Naivasha.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. And Jane Maina, I know you are driving. Could you just tell us where you are calling from?
I'm driving to Machakos, which is where we have our factory
Yes.
for processing mango and passion fruit into pulp.
Aha. That's nice. I can also see Willie Musioka. Just say hi. Willie? You're able to talk? Willie from Makueni? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Willie.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yes, you are clear.
Okay, I'm Willie Musioka, based at Makueni Fruit Processing Plant, which is a project of the Makueni County government under the Department of Agriculture, Irrigation, Livestock and Fisheries Development.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have James Mwangi.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm here in Kiambu. And for me, I'm a student at the Wangari Maathai Institute, a PhD student.
Very good.
Yes, I'm pursuing the issues of sustainability, sustainable intensification in agriculture, where you are looking at being able to produce more from the same amount of land, minimizing greenhouse gases emissions, and at the same time also ensuring income and sustainability.
Thank you. Then we have Judy. Judy Ngugi. Okay, I can see Neon Ray has put on the mic. Neon, you can say something.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Bernard Kariuki. I'm from Kasarani, Zimmerman. Mine is processing of raw tomatoes into tomato sauce and tomato sauce products, where basically we specialize on this the small sizes from farmers that have no market value, but they can be used for processing. In return, at least to increase their revenue. And also here, because we are within the town setup, we have some collection centers where those tomatoes from farmers get to the market. The ones that cannot be sold simply because maybe they are broken, we also collect them and process them. And basically that's what we are doing at the moment. But hoping very soon we are going also to get into other fruits like mangoes and actually mangoes and other perishable fruits, whereby we can convert the excess into products that can have a longer shelf life. Thank you.
Very good, Neon. Yeah, did Judy Ngungi? Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
And if you can put on your video so that we see who is talking is better.
Yes, at the moment, at a place where I can't put up my video.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, my name is Judy. Currently, I'm calling in from Nairobi, but I am a student at the Pan-African University Institutes of Water and Earth Sciences based in Algeria. I'm studying energy policy in more matters on renewable energy and energy transition in all sectors of aspects of economy and how that will impact countries to move into low carbon economies. So I'm very happy to be part of this forum. So thank you very much.
You say you are in Algeria or you are currently in Nairobi?
Currently, I'm calling in from Nairobi, but I am a master's student at a Pan-African University based in Algeria.
Ah, good.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, who wants to greet us? Bessie? Okay. Eric, you only greeted me. Can you greet the people?
Bessie?
Sorry, my name is Eric Ogumo. I'm a consultant with IFC World Bank. I'm basically freshly graduated 2 weeks ago with PhD in food science and technology from the University of Nairobi. And basically, this conference is very important to me because it touches squarely on my research with regards to use of solar energy in cooling processes and also to reduce food waste along the supply chain for smallholder farmers. So I'm very delighted to be here today. Thank you. I will be doing a paper later on today just on one of the objectives that I carried out during my research.
Very
Thanks.
good. Thank you very much. At least I'm now able to see Neon. I wasn't able to put the name and the face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, Bessie was talking when she went off.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Dr. Bessie. I teach at Wangari Maathai. I will be joining this to present us our paper on issues of water. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, who else has not said hi? So the rest of us, we can mute our mic. I would request us to mute because then it becomes easy for us to understand each other. Just a minute. Joan, you are talking.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Joan Mahanu from Kenya Bureau of Standards. I'll be speaking to you later about environmental management systems.
Joan, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else who wants to say hi as we go into the program now?
Yes, George, I can say hi.
Yes, do please, Prof.
Yes, my name is Michael Okoth. I teach in the Department of Food, Science, Technology, and Nutrition of the University of Nairobi.
Thank you. Nobody else? You know, the chance will go unless you will be officially introduced as you present.
Yes, could I also say hello?
Yes, Prof.
Yes, my name is Nzioka Modama. Good morning to us all. I teach at the Wangari Maathai Institute for Peace and Environmental Studies. And I'll be presenting something on climate. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I would request the others to mute. Christine, can you mute? Willie, please mute. As I welcome Director Wangari Maathai, you are welcome.
Good morning.
Though I know I was to introduce you at a certain point, but you are welcome to say good morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bong. My name is David Mungai from Wangari Maathai Institute. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Okay. I'm also seeing Professor Beatrice. Are you able to say hi? Oh, somebody is in Galaxy trying to greet us. Galaxy tab. Since you have not put your name, you know, we can't say who you are. I can see you are greeting us and waving. That's nice. Are you able to say anything? The Galaxy tab A. Okay. Marion, you are able to say hi? I know your time is coming. Please unmute, Marion. Yes, you are okay.
Perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so hi everyone, and thank you very much for being here in the e-conference. So I'm working at the Study Foundation, and we are working in the Horti-Green project, but I will speak about the project later this morning. So thank you very much, and good morning.
Thank you. There is Mary. So we are already in the program, so but we will try and keep time, so don't worry. We are just in the program. If you received the program, I hope all of us received our program. We shall be able to try and keep time. Galaxy tab A, your mic is on. Do you want to say something?
Good morning, Dr. Obong.
Yes,
this is
Thomas, yes, karibu.
How are you? Good morning.
I'm fine, except we are not seeing your face, but fine. I hope they will understand your voice.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, your teacher, I work for the European Union delegation here in Nairobi, and we are funding HORTIGREEN program together with other 3 projects that are implemented across Kenya. So I think I will have an opportunity to talk about the Switch Africa Green program later. But I have really limited time because I have to join another meeting starting at 10:30. Thank you.
Yes, Thomas, we will ensure you come at your time as you suggested early. Right. Okay. Yeah, so just a minute. Is there somebody I haven't allowed? James, you can go on. And Elma? I'm also seeing Christine Nyaga.
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Elma from the University of Nairobi, working at the Horti-Green as the Secretariat. Welcoming you all.
James? James? You're muted. Okay, James is muted. We go to Pauline or Christine Nyaga.
Good morning, all.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, let's have one person. We begin with Christine Nyaga.
All right. Good morning, all. My name is Christine Nyaga, and I run an organization called Chania Agri-Processors. We produce banana syrups and juices from the banana food waste, or rather from the overripe bananas. We are based in Embu, but currently we do our production from Kirudi because of being incubated there. Thank you. Have a good time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paulino Kubasu. I am the founder and CEO of Azabi Foods. Azabi Foods dries or dehydrates fruits. We are based here in Nairobi. I'm one of the beneficiaries of Horti-Green project. Thank you, and I'm here to learn. Thank you. Thank you, Marion. Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you very much. Benson Ouma.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Benson Ouma, a Horti-Green project team, and University of Nairobi, Wangari Maathai. Thank you and welcome.
Very good. So I guess all of us have said hi. If you have not, I still have a chance. Now I want to share my screen.
Oh, I'm also here. I'm here.
Oh, James,
Hello.
proceed. Your line
Good
seems...
morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm James Ouma. I work in the Horti-Green team. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I think I needed to just do a small introduction before I bring in the program. Elma, am I able to share? Elma, am I able to share the screen?
You can share your screen.
I can see.
Have you tried it out?
I can see it is telling me the host has disabled the sharing.
Let me try to enable.
Okay, so thank you very much. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to our virtual Horti-Green program and e-conference that is running today. We have started a bit late. Tomorrow we will start at 9. But that is how we arrange the program, that today we start at 9:30 and then we end at 12:30, but the subsequent days we will begin at 9 and try to end at 12 or 12:20. And so the program is what I wanted to share, but I guess all of you have got the program. So Elma, I'm not able to share. Are you able to share the program with us?
Hello? Fine. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so members, as I was saying that we are now running up to my session of introduction was to end at 9:45. I am in time, and I want us to quickly then, as I invite Thomas, but I wanted to say, because the more about the project, which is about inclusive green horticultural processing, is a project that is being coordinated by Sustalde, and Marion will be talking much about this. And it is a consortium that involves the University of Nairobi, Kenya Bureau of Standards, and the Consumer Information Network. Our aim is to foster sustainable processing, production and processing practices in the horticultural value chain, and especially the processing subsector. And so we will have more of this overall and overarching objectives and project presentation from Marion, who is coming immediately after Thomas gives a presentation. So because we do not want to waste time, Thomas, you indicated you have another meeting. That's why we brought you early. I think we need to welcome Thomas to just give an overview of Switch Africa Green Program and SCP, so that we get started to know the bigger picture as we narrow down to the current project. So Thomas, are you ready to go on?
Thank you, Dr. Would it not have been easy for Marion to make a presentation? Then I can give a general overview. Would that be a good idea?
Or
I can wait.
If you can wait, then I think Marion has no problem.
Okay.
It is only that we were told you are running to another meeting.
Yeah, I try to. I will join the meeting late. I will join the other meeting a bit late.
Okay. So Marion, you have had the request. You are able to go on.
Sure. So can I share my screen? No.
Elma, is Marion able to share? You can unshare so that she does. So Marion, are you able to share?
No, I'm not, but I'm sending the presentation to Elma, so maybe he will receive the presentation and put it on his computer.
Elma did not enable presenters to share. Thomas, do you have a presentation? It may have the similar problem.
No. I will speak. I don't have a
Okay.
presentation, but yeah. Thank you.
Fine. Yes, Kaura Shege.
Yes, my brother.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
I can see you have joined us.
I've joined you. I had some issue, but I was missing one number, but now I'm okay and ready for the meeting.
Very well. Can you say hi?
Hi to the team.
Hi to you.
Yes, my name is Samuel from Chiara program, and we are still pressing on with the solar drying, the value addition on vegetables and bananas.
Very good.
We look forward to learn more in these 3 days forum.
You are most welcome, sir.
Thank you, my brother George.
So,
well, maybe I can start and
yeah, you can just talk
yes,
as
exactly.
Elma is sharing.
Exactly. So, as you explained, the Horti-Green project is a project based in Kenya, which name is Inclusive Green Horticultural Processing Sector in Kenya. It's a 42 months action, and it's part of the Switch Africa Green Program, which is co-financed by the European Commission, as will explain Thomas later. And the aim of the project is to foster the adoption of sustainable consumption and production practices in the Kenyan horticultural processing industry. So the main focus of the action is to equip Kenyan horticultural processing MSMEs with knowledge and tools to promote and adopt SCP practices and seize green economy opportunities. We are working with different groups such as the horticultural processing MSMEs, financing institutions, consumer organizations, governmental institutions, local authorities. And regarding the MSMEs, we have 2 big groups. We first worked with 300 MSMEs, and we did capacity building on SCP practices, environmental management system implementation, and some advisory services on green financing options. And among the 300 MSMEs, we selected 60 MSMEs, and now I think we are working with 63 actually MSMEs, and we give them a special technical support on the implementation of these SCP practices learned and on the implementation of an EMS, because another objective of the project is to certify at least 50 MSMEs against ISO 14001 certification by the end of the project, which is next year. We also in the project have other beneficiaries. So as I said, the financing institutions. So with them, we are working toward creating awareness on SCP practices and green finance. And we will try to, and we are working on strengthening linkages and promote direct dialogue between the financing institutions and the MSMEs. We also are working with the Kenyan authorities to raise the awareness and understanding of the SCP practices and try to promote incentives for sustainable MSMEs. With business intermediaries and services providers, we reinforced capacities on SCP and try to reinforce the whole horticultural value chain. And finally, as in SCP, there is a C for consumption. We are working with consumer organizations and we are increasing awareness and demand for sustainable products. So mainly with MSMEs, as I explained, we gave them technical advisory services on how to implement a best set of SCP practices. And the University of Nairobi took care of this part and take care of the implementation of these practices. We also worked on the use of environmental management system, EMS, as probably Joanne from KEPS will explain later today, I think, in the presentation. And so to teach them what is an EMS and how to implement it. And the University of Nairobi is also following the implementation of this EMS with the objective of getting an ISO certification by the end of the project. Regarding the green finance, we gave MSMEs advices on a green finance option. We helped them to build business plan, green business plan. And from one part, from the other part, we did training with financing institutions to explain what is an SCP practices, how SCP practices can be linked to green finance. And finally, we will organize a B2B meeting between the MSMEs and the financing institutions to promote direct dialogue and for the MSMEs to present their business plan and hopefully get loan to finance their SCP investments. We also we are working with Kenyan authorities to develop and support incentive packages for MSMEs, and we are doing so by conducting forums and roundtables. And regarding the demand, because we are working on the production part, but also we have to work on the demand part to ensure that there is a market for these sustainable products. So we are working with consumer organizations to do a campaign and consumer awareness on for demand on sustainable food products. To reinforce also the value chain, we are working with business intermediaries to create a panel of experts on SCP practices to ensure that after the project there will be a lot of competencies on SCP practices to help more MSMEs, because we are only helping 300 and then more specifically 60 MSMEs. But after the project, some MSMEs can adopt also SCP practices. And we are also working to promote a voluntary agreement between all the supply chain actors to increase the share of green products marketed in Kenya. That leads us to today's event, which is a seminar on sustainable consumption and production practices in the food value chain, which is part of the creation of awareness around SCP practices in Kenya. So I thank you, George and his team, for organizing this event. And well, it's a shame I cannot share my screen, but we will send you a link to the web page of the project, to the Twitter page and the Facebook page of the project. And if I'm not wrong, you can also follow this event on live Facebook right now. So thank you very much, and enjoy the e-conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marion. We shall be able to get your presentation through the links. Thank you very much for giving that overview of the current project. And now I think we can welcome Thomas to give his presentation on Switch Africa Green project. Thomas?
Thank you very much, Daktari. Thank you, Marion, for the very good overview on the Horti-Green program. As I mentioned before, I am Thomas Yatich, and I manage this program from the donor side, from the European Union side. So the Horti-Green program is among 4 other programs that we are funding. The entire Switch Africa program is a 20 million euros program. And it is being implemented in 7 countries across Africa, Kenya included. The other countries are Uganda, Ethiopia, Burkina Faso, Ghana, South Africa, and Mauritius. And this is the second phase of the program. The initial program was entirely implemented by the United Nations. And it had 3 components. One is the policy component. The policy component basically is the interest of the policy component is establishment of policies, incentive structures, and instruments for green business development. And the second component was actually basically to develop transitioning businesses from brown, the business as usual type of business to greening businesses. And the third component is to basically facilitate networking among and between different business entities that have been facilitated through the program, through the business component, which is component number 2. The only difference between the first phase, which is ended now, we are in the final evaluation, is in the second phase, the delegations are responsible for the green business component, including those that are Kenya, for example, has 4 projects, the highest number of grantees that have been funded are in Kenya. And so these business that have been, the grantees that have been supported, basically what we want to do is to link these businesses to our bilateral program. So sort of promoting engagement between our grantees and the programs that we are funding with the government of Kenya. The lessons and experiences of the program, including Horti-Green, is very important to us in terms of upscaling, in terms of promoting linkage with government institutions, with national banks because of the credit issues. So this is what the program tries to do in terms of really enabling farmers to adopt sustainable consumption and not really farmers, but SMEs, enabling SMEs to adopt sustainable consumption and production practices, which is SDG number 12. And that is aimed at achieving multiple objectives. And some of the multiple objectives could include capacity building of the farmers, aggregating the farmers, because it is very difficult to organize small-scale farmers within the smallholder model. So the question is then, how do we aggregate farmers to be able to have mass adoption of sustainable consumption and production practices, and go beyond the adoption in terms of really helping the farmers to adopt, environmental management systems, to adopt phytosanitary standards like the Kenyan standard of, I think, 1758, and then even go into connecting the farmers, linking the farmers to the market. Like, for example, the WWF implemented project in Naivasha. What it tries to do is really to link the farmers to the market and link them to credit, because these, are always the challenges that farmers experience from time to time. Small-scale farmers also cannot individually, access credit because of weaknesses of, say, record keeping, being able to link themselves to the market. And so what we try to promote is then how do you bring farmers together? How do you create micro, small, and medium enterprises out of this, and then be able to link them to the market, and most importantly, actually, European market, because Kenya, Kenya works very closely with EU, and we have Kenyans who access the market but I think that is minimal for now. I mean, we can still link more farmers to the European Union market if we try to address some of the challenges that we experience from time to time. But as you can see, Sweet Africa Green may not be a very small project, because 20 million euros, I think, in any standard is a lot of money. But still, the farmers that we support across the landscape, the tour operators that we support, because we are in the agriculture and tourism subsectors, are very few. So the demand is huge. There are issues really that needs to be addressed, but then we do not have the resources to meet the high levels of need that come from farmers. So I think moving forward, there is need to really figure out then how do we take things to scale? At what level within the business ecosystem can the different actors in the sector come on board? And so I think the participation of the University of Nairobi in the Horti-Green program is very important, because there is need to really create awareness on sustainable consumption and management, sustainable consumption and production practices, and even elements of certification. Yeah. How many farmers get certified? How are they accessing the European Union market? What about the regional markets? I mean, we need to do more. And so for the European Union moving forward, I know colleagues have heard of the Green Deal priority of the new Commission. So the Green Deal priority, we are now actually in the programming of the Green Deal program. And here in Kenya, we are doing the Green Deal Team Europe initiative that will focus more on the circular economy, natural capital, and biodiversity. And the idea is to continue and take to scale the experiences from the Sweet Africa Green, and basically link more farmers to the European Union market. But the question is, at what stage should we start addressing, you know, should we go down to the small scale order, or should we focus on, say, the agribusiness processing, or should we address, deal with the enabling environment? So I think these are some of the questions that need to be answered, and be able to guide the thinking around sustainable consumption and production practices. If we deal with the enabling environment, are the businesses ready to, you know, adopt sustainable production and, you know, climate resilient innovations that can enable people to link to the market, whether European Union market or the free trade area? For example, the African-wide trade agreement. Can Kenyan SMEs be able to capitalize on this? What about youth and women? Yeah, and the question is then, how can we produce in biodiverse landscapes? How can we promote also biodiversity conservation in these landscapes? What about zero pollution ambition? Can we be able to enable our farmers produce in landscapes that do not also pollute our water systems downstream?
I'm not sure who is
George,
on.
I think I can stop there because I hear some background noise.
I'm not sure whose mic is on.
Yes. So I think what I can finally say is that we are interested to take on board the lessons and experiences of the Sweet Africa Green and see how we mainstream, how that can inform our next programming under the Green Deal Team Europe initiative, where we will be working with member states, including Danita, Sweden, who have actually developed good experiences when it comes to circular economy, green growth, and climate change. Thank you very much, and all the very best. I will join the meeting later also after my next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Would you want to exit immediately, or you can take one or two questions?
I can take one or two questions, no problem, and then I can exit.
Yeah, I think one is that the initiative of Switch Africa Green is very noble, except some of the research that we have done from this, our project, it shows that when we began, most people did not have in mind, even from their business model, any issue to deal with the sustainable production and consumption issues. Those are very secondary in their conceptualization. And so you will find that there is a presentation we will make tomorrow from the research that we are doing. It is really an uphill task, but I think quite a number of the processors you see who have even joined here have had some change of heart over the years. But that was just a comment. Anybody who wants to give a question to Thomas? You can raise your hand if you have a question. Or Thomas was very clear.
Daktari, you know, I'm actually privileged to speak in this e-conference in the presence of Professor David Mugai. We worked previously in payment for ecosystem services. So I wonder if we is thinking about how do we bring the innovations in the payment schemes for environmental services to being part of switching Africa Green, because I think we have made very good progress in payment for ecosystem services, and therefore the thinking is, I mean, I've been thinking about this in the context of the new programming. How do we bring those lessons to bear in you know, the multifunctionality that we need in programming? That you know, you've got to deal with different elements of to really bring on board these elements of sustainable consumption and production practices. So I'm really privileged to listen to him later in his presentation. Thank you. And I will try to join.
Okay.
Of course, he's not going to talk about this, but I think it's something that we need to think about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any question to Thomas, our participants? I can see Benson's mic is on.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bo. I must appreciate what the teacher said, quite noble for this sector. And as a researcher who has been in the field with these horticultural processors, the idea is noble, and these people requires a lot of input in terms of capacity building, because as you know, many of them are just beginning, but the idea they have is quite wonderful. And as time goes by, I would encourage that whatever you are doing through the European Union continue, so that we see these people produce sustainably within this sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Benson. Thomas Benson is one of the PhDs from the Wangari Maathai Institute of Peace and Development. We have two of them in this meeting. who are attached to this project. And I think at the end of the project, we shall not only have the deliverables we started with early, but we will have 2 PhDs from the project, which is an addition.
Excellent.
Thomas, yeah, I think we are privileged to have you in this meeting.
Thank you, Dr. I think that's excellent way of doing business. If you have a program and then you have PhD or master's students deliver some of the objectives of the program, that is important because we've got to really produce the critical mass that you need for this transition. You need the knowledge, the skills to help farmers transition. And you know, you also need the private sector, especially the development banks, to provide the resources for the transitioning. And this is very, very good. Excellent work, and thank you for integrating students into the program.
Thank you very much. So we look forward to having you back at some point as you go to the other meeting. You have a good day.
Thank you very much, Dr. and all the very best. I will join later or even tomorrow morning. Thank you.
You are most welcome.
Asante sana.
Thank you. So then we move to the next presenter, who is Joan Mahanu, who is from Kenya Bureau of Standards. We all know Kenya Bureau of Standards, but I think she is best placed to talk about it than me, because even though we work with them closely, but the person from the house knows where things are kept better. So Joan, please welcome. I guess you have a presentation you would want to share. The floor is yours, Joan. You can introduce yourself and the organization.
Thank you, Dr. As I begin, kindly give me the rights. The host has disabled my sharing. Okay, my name is Joan Mahanu from Kenya Bureau of Standards. I've been coordinating the project from Kenya Bureau of Standards.
Elma, where are you now? I'm not sure who is speaking at the background.
Yeah, I'm still disabled.
Just a minute.
Okay.
One boy Mwe here is, I'm looking at the person, I'm not seeing the person who is not muted. And so that noise, I don't know where it is coming from. Let me see what is happening with Elma, because he's the host, but I've seen somebody, Christine, became the host. Sorry, members, I think the online is playing tricks. At some point, the host became Christine and now it is Judy. Judy Ngugi, how did you become the host? Elma, are you there? Elma?
Okay, you are the host, sindio?
Hello. I can see that it's saying I'm the host. Can anybody tell me how I can pass the rights to someone else?
That's what I'm wondering, how it passed on to you. I saw it went to Christine and then it went to you. It came to you. Let's see how we can solve
For now,
this.
if she
Hello.
can share
Yes,
it.
Eric. Just a minute.
Hi,
Yeah,
Doc.
Eric. Yes.
I think if she wants to pass the host to somebody, you go on participants and highlight the person's name and right-click, then make host to whoever you want to make the host.
Okay, so the next speaker is supposed to be Christine, right?
No,
Joanne.
Mahanu Joan.
Joan.
Yeah.
So let me go to Joan.
Have you managed?
Not yet. Just a second, please. Okay, I've decided to give the host to George so that he can, move from there and be able to pass into, because, yeah, let me just give it to you, Mr. George, if that's okay.
Do I now have it?
Yes, yes.
Joan, you should have it now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes, it is okay. Proceed.
All right. So we've been working with the MSMEs that were recruited by the University of Nairobi. And I will just give you what we have done on the project. But briefly, I would start by introducing the Kenya Bureau of Standards. I will put off my video for clarity. Now, that is our headquarters based in South Sea. Those of you who would wish to come there to work going forward with us. The content that I'm going to give today is some brief on KEB's mandate, the objectives and achievement of the project that has been implemented by KEBS what is an environmental management system, what are the benefits of the EMS, results before and after, and then a brief on the ISO 14000 2015 EMS standard and how to build an EMS. So Kenya Bureau of Standards was established under the Standards Act, Cap 496 of the laws of Kenya, to provide standardization and conformity services through promotion of standardization in commerce and industry, provision of testing and calibration facilities, product and system certification, undertaking educational work in standardization and practical application of standards, and maintenance and dissemination of international system of units, the SI units of measurement. So we looked at our specific component where KEBS is supporting, and we are to equip the Kenya horticultural processing MSMEs to eco-entrepreneurs and business services providers with the necessary knowledge, to promote and adoption of SCP practices and says green economy opportunities. Specifically for KEBS, we were targeting to train 50 MSMEs on implementation of ISO 14001 2015 standard, further train the same SMEs on internal audit course, and then target to certify the same SMEs on the said standard. Some achievements that we have realized during this period, after the University of Nairobi selected or called for meetings, we came in with a criteria to recruit the SMEs for EMS implementation, and we were able to recruit some. We came up with a questionnaire that they had to fill, and this was done. This was through 3 organized workshops by the University of Nairobi, where we were invited to actually do the assessment, and the workshops were quite successful. Then we had to develop specific materials for training of the EMS, and this one was successfully done. And further on, we were embarked on training the 50 SMEs, and we have trained more than the 50 MSMEs, and also we were to train them on internal audit course, of which we have trained over 40, but we have one more training to go to complete this cycle. And after that, we are to target certification of the SMEs, and this one is yet to be done. And it is because once we trained the SMEs, we hand them back to the university for them to now work with them, ensure that they have the necessary documentation and implement the system before we come back in for certification purpose. So I would like to just give you a feel of what the SMEs have gone through this period. So we had to introduce them on what an environmental management system is. An environmental management system is a set of processes and practices that enable organizations to reduce, oh, somebody's on. Neo? Neo, Ray? Okay, thank you, Neo. An EMS is a set of processes and practices that enable organizations to reduce its environmental impact and increase its operational efficiency. An EMS can be applied in any business of any size in any given sector. The EMS allows a company to identify opportunities for improvement and improving environmental performance. The EMS itself does not dictate a level of environmental performance that must be achieved. Each company's EMS is tailored to its own individual objectives and targets. Naturally, the EMS is not compulsory. This is a voluntary activity. You may be aware that all management systems are not to be forced onto anyone, but you need to bring them to a level of understanding that this is beneficial to us, and then they can uptake of the same. Some benefits that we have impacted to the EMS to understand why it is important for them to uptake these systems. For example, at an individual level is to reduce, reuse, recycle approach to make tangible cost reduction. And this can also enhance company image, reduce the impact of your business activities on the environment. And to our customers, then it reassures customers that they are working with a company which promotes a shared environmental ethos. Prove that you are maintaining a forward-thinking, environmentally aware organization. And to the staff, it increases the motivation of your environmental consciousness. Employees actively reduces environmental risks and prevents accidents, both by the employees and the local environment, and increases environmental awareness amongst the entire workforce. So after you implement an EMS, some of the things we expect to see is like what you see on the screen. Sometimes we have our electrical equipment being set up and it looks the way we can see in this picture. But once you implement an EMS, we expect that you now understand to ensure that you are safe. In some of our factories, you find that chemicals are just placed everywhere and there's a bit of mess in our manufacturing units. And we expect that after you have implemented the EMS, this is the kind of thing we expect to see in your production areas. Look at that. We have bottles thrown everywhere, no organization, but after implementation, we want to see an organized place that people are cautious of how they operate. And here you can see waste management is a total mess where we are just mixing everything up. But once you implement an EMS, we expect to see some form of organization, separation of waste, plastics, littering, and all that being separated. So in a nutshell, the most commonly used framework for an EMS under the 14001 standard is to look at, do you have a policy in place? Yeah, how do you do your planning to eventually implement the system? Evaluate your system and review the same for continual improvement. This standard was established in 1996. This framework is the official international standard for an EMS, which is based on a plan, do, check, act methodology. In this standard, there are 8 main stages that these SMEs have had to go through. And the first one is to identify the significant environmental aspects, things that will interact with the environment from their production systems and affect the environment. So they have had to learn how to identify this and then conceptualize the same and identify the same in their own processes. There are legal requirements that they also need to comply with. So they have had to identify these requirements and see how they can ensure compliance. And as they did this, they came up with a policy. Each of the SMEs has to come up with a policy that they are committing to ensuring that they have a sustainable environment. They have had to set and track their objectives and targets, follow up and measure, and they have also had to come up with emergency preparedness and response procedures. And as they do this, they have now reached the level of check and audit. And that is why when we were doing the trainings, we started with a training which we'll see later, the implementers training, and then later on the audit training. So the implementers training was to assist them from environmental, significant environmental aspect identification up to emergency preparedness and response. Now, the internal audit process training is now assisting them from the check and audit and then management review. Okay, so the training has assisted them to come up with such documents which they are able to identify the inputs into their processes, what are the potential impact, and then they are able to come up with the necessary controls. So our SMEs, these are the kind of things. There are many documentation, but this is just an example of an environmental aspect register that the SMEs have had to develop. Now, also on the legislation is another example. I'll just give maybe 2 examples. On the legislation, they have to comply with the laws and they keep the legal registers up to date. So like in this case, what was first expected of them is for the company to analyze, to know what they need to comply with according to the law, not only environmental, but also health and safety legislations and other laws that they need to comply with. And then secondly, and ensure that they understand what they need to comply from that specific law. And then finally, they have then, when it comes to the time of audit, they must show proof of compliance of the legislations that they have actually identified. So the main things going forward that we are going to see is now that they have understood the setting up of their system, so they will have to set up a policy, write and communicate this policy. They will set objectives that define what is to be monitored and what is supposed to be controlled, what is supposed to be reduced, and so that we see the reduction of the impact to the environment. And then as they come up with the objective, they must have specific targets. And these targets must be very specific, measurable, and achievable at the same time, realistic and time-bound. All this must be monitored to demonstrate compliance. For emergency preparedness, they're supposed to come up with plans, procedures and plans in place to respond to emergency situations and accidents that can impact on the environment. And some of the things that they are looking at is communication and train the staff on this. Like they have to come up with the procedures for fire, on evacuation plan to exit, response plan on to have emergency workers notified in case of a fire. In case of leakages, what do they really need to do? In case of chemical spillage, what do they need to do? So they're coming up with all this plan in place in preparation of an emergency in case it actually occurs. Then also they have, when they're doing their auditing, there are a few things that they have to look at: corrective and preventive action. They have to ensure that the EMS is functioning and functioning correctly. So for them to be sure of this, then they have to undertake the audits. Yeah, they have to undertake the audits. So when we were doing the implementers course, we were teaching them on how to set it up. Now, at this point, we were now teaching them on how to look at the standard, but from the auditor's view. So if I come in and I'm auditing this process, you have to look at the standard from the auditor's view. So they have to identify failures or non-conformances within the system using the same requirements that they have, and then also look at if there are failures, then how do they ensure that they actually improve on the same. And they have to make decisions based on analysis of what they have established from their audits. The decisions here should not be radical, but should be evidence-based, that I have been monitoring my data, either I'm reducing or I'm not reducing, what is causing this, and they're able to do the analysis and make correct decisions. So they have had to do internal audit for their systems, and they have gone through this practically, and we hope that they can now effectively implement the same on the ground. And finally, they have to look at, as the management of that particular entity, they must review this particular system at planned intervals. Okay, so the management review helps them to maintain commitment and raise issues where they need to improve on. And during management review, a few things have to be done. They have to look at the significant environmental aspects and the legal requirements. How far are they in complying with the requirements? They have to look at the environmental performance of the company. How is it? Are the objectives being met? Are we taking corrective and preventive actions? And that means at every point, we still come back to our plan, do, check, drawing here, which we are looking at. Yes, we set a policy, we planned, we have implemented, now we have evaluated, and at management review, that is the point at which we are. So after management review, then they'll be able again to readjust their systems for future improvement and continual improvement. Yeah. So with that, I think, thank you very much, and back to you, George, if there are any questions.
Thank you, Joanne, for the presentation. I don't know if any member has a question or a clarification. I'm not able to see anybody raising their hands. Any member before we move on? Okay. So there is no hand raised. Fine. Just in case there is any question that will come ahead, Joan, I hope you are still in the meeting. You will be able to take the questions.
Yes, I'm in the meeting. In case I have to leave, I will notify you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Now I think we can move on to the last part of the morning session. This first session, I need to be sure that, yeah, now the next part, I think we just want to have a small section of official opening of this session. And I can see our Dean, the Faculty of Agriculture, is with us, Professor Moses Nyangito. Good morning, sir. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to give a few remarks as you welcome members to the meeting. Professor?
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Good morning, members who are on board. This morning, may I take this opportunity to recognize the David Vice Chancellor in charge of Research, Innovation and Extension, who was supposed to be present. I hope he will be joining if he finds time. I also recognize our college principal, Professor Nyikal. I hope he is present. The director of Wangari Maathai Institute, Professor Mungai. The project coordinator for Horti-Green program, Madam Marianne Virakamp. I also recognize the donor for this program, represented by Thomas Yatich from the European Commission. I also recognize other members of the project team, led by Dr. Georgia Bong from Food Science and the Wangari Maathai Institute, who are co-partnering from the faculty in this project, fellow participants. I'm gratified once again participate in the opening of this important conference, this e-conference on sustainable consumption and production practices in the food value chain. This is a very important area that you are looking into as a program. As you know, sustainable consumption is our immediate challenge and is one of the key goals of the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. How do we convert our production systems and the use of what we produce into a sustainable way so that we minimize wastage and we promote sustainability? So may I say that what you are doing as a program is extremely important, not only to the global community, but to our country. And therefore, the contribution you are giving as partners in this program is highly welcome, and we pride in your work. As a faculty, we will continue to support you in all ways to ensure that this program succeeds and achieves its intended goal. As you deliberated today in this e-conference, I hope you will be able to come up with recommendations which will continue to advance the work of this program. We are definitely very grateful for the European Union to have given you the opportunity to do this program. And as a faculty, we will look forward that even when you complete the current phase, that there will be another opportunity that the donor will find favor with you to renew the program to continue widening your reach in service to mankind and our country. With those few remarks, I wish to invite the college principal, Professor Nikal, if he is present. No, before the principal, I wish to welcome the director, Professor Wangari Maathai Institute, Professor David Mungai, to make a few remarks, and then welcome the college principal to make her remarks. David.
Thank you very much, Professor Nyangito. The Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Enterprise, Principal Curves, the Dean, Faculty of Agriculture, the Horti-Green Project Coordinator, Marion Villacampa, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. We also welcome all of you, all the distinguished participants to this e-conference, Sustainable Consumption and Production Practices in the Food Value Chain, that is organized by the Horti-Green Project, Inclusive Horticultural Processing Sector in Kenya, an action that is implemented by Fundación. I'm sorry, there is quite some noise in the background. So,
Professor, who is the noise? I'm looking for the person who was not muted.
Okay, please.
Members, we agreed that we mute because if you talk at the background, we can't hear you.
It is Paul Ongaro.
Okay, let me call him. Proceed, Professor.
Thank you very much. So as I was saying that this project is implemented by Fundación Sastaldi of Spain, the University of Nairobi, the Consumer Information Network, and the Kenya Bureau of Standards. We at the Wangari Maathai Institute fully acknowledge and appreciate the leadership and the collaborative role of the University of Nairobi's principal investigator, Dr. George Abong, and of course the team in the Department of Food Science, Nutrition and Technology in the Faculty of Agriculture. And we also do acknowledge the leadership role by Professor Michael Okoth. We at the Institute are honored to host this e-conference as co-investigators in the project. In particular, I would like to appreciate the contributions to the project by Professor John Mudhama on behalf of the Institute. We are also very pleased to note that we have two of our PhD students being supported by this project. Now, a little bit about the Institute. The Institute offers postgraduate programs that foster and inculcate transformative values with the intention of creating next generation of transformative leaders. A distinctive environmental studies institute that develops an understanding of the interdependence of environmental health and human prosperity, while providing skills to deal with conflicts. And we are also an experiential learning institution for environmental studies. We are involved, the Institute is an evolving and inspirational living, innovative and creative laboratory where new green technologies and best practices of environmental sustainability and conflict resolution can be fostered, developed and tested, validated and demonstrated. In this regard, this e-conference theme of promoting sustainable production and consumption practices while seizing green economy opportunities in the food value chain is very fitting as we seek solutions to environmental sustainability challenges at the local as well as international levels. So once again, I welcome you to the e-conference. I wish everybody, every participant, an interactive and informative e-conference. Thank you very much. Now, George, I don't know if the principal is in.
Prof, you know, she was caught up in another meeting.
Yes.
Which was very urgent for admin.
Yes.
But she said
yes.
she would join immediately, but now I don't see her online.
So you advise me?
Well, I think, thank you for giving an overarching statement on the conference.
Yes.
You can just welcome members to our university and we proceed so that if the principal comes, we shall
Yes.
give her a chance.
Yes, she can really have her, she can, because I know she must be having some talking points, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bong. On behalf of the University of Nairobi, the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, and on behalf of the principal of our college, I would like to invite every participant to this e-conference.
I can see she's joining.
Okay, so I think you better than get in touch with her.
No, she has just joined.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I welcome every participant to to the college, the University of Nairobi, and I'm sure the principal will be talking to us shortly. But feel welcome and let us have a very interactive and productive e-conference. Thank you very much, Dr. Abong.
Thank you, Professor Mungai, for those good remarks. And thank you very much for welcoming our participants. I think we are in the last session. The principal has just joined. Principal, you can hear us?
Yes.
Yes, we we were just at the tail end. Are you able to say one or two things as we close the session of opening?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Apologies, I had a parallel meeting which had not been planned for well, but I couldn't leave it midstream. But may I take this opportunity to welcome everyone to the conference that is organized by the college. And I trust we will get value for our time here, sustainable consumption and production practices. I imagine that when production is sustainable, then consumption will just fall in place. But anyway, those are some of the issues that we are going to encounter as we move along. So because you are at the tail end, allow me to just do the welcoming, and I trust that we will continue listening to one another and learning from one another and sharing the good and the bad of sustainability. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you, Principal. Thank you very much. And members, I think with that, we can take a 5 minutes break as we transit to the presentations. So we will just take 5 minutes break. You don't have to leave, but you can look for something to take or to just go around and walk. We shall be starting at 11.
George, if I may, just one thing. Joanne, can you make me host? I will try to host. I will try to enable screen sharing for the next presentation.
Oh yes, Joanne, you can transfer the host rights. Marion, it means Linda, who has all the presentations, he will still be able to share. I hope so.
Yes, the idea is to enable all the participants to share their screen.
That's fine. Okay.
So let me try during health break.
Okay.
Thank you.
We continuously
George, I've made you the host.
You'll be able to share any concern, any queries that you may have, so that by the time you are leaving here,
Chair, I think I'm the next. Can I share my screen? Dog, I'm sharing my screen. Is that okay?
Yes, you are sharing.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, colleagues, I think we are back and we can proceed with the program that we have. The first presenter was supposed to be Duke Gikonge, but I'm told Eric is leaving, so he has made a request that he comes so that Duke will fit in his section. So Eric Ogumo, are you there? As Eric comes on, I want to request us to stick to time because these online things are not easy to manage. So the time as given is 15 minutes in most cases. So if you can use 10 and leave the 10 for questions would be good so that we get feedback from members. If you take the whole time, then it becomes difficult to get question time, which may also be very good for as feedback. So Eric, the floor is yours. Please proceed. Eric, I can't hear you. I can see your presentation.
Yes, Prof. I'm just loading it shortly.
Go on, Eric. Go on.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for giving me a chance to share with you some of my findings. For the benefit of those who didn't see me earlier, I would want to put up my video briefly for the introduction, then I'll switch it off to save on the bandwidth. My name is Eric Ogumo. I am an agricultural and food safety expert with 20 years of industry experience. Currently, I consult for IFC World Bank, and I just recently graduated with PhD in food science and technology. And I will be taking this time to share with you one of my papers that I developed during my study from one of my objectives for my PhD study. So, welcome. All right. So basically, this morning I want to share with you my findings, or rather our findings. This work was done in collaboration with Dr. Kunyaga, Professor Kimeju, and Professor Koth of Department of Food Science and Nutrition and Technology of the University of Nairobi and Department of Plant Science and Crop Protection at University of Nairobi. Okay, basically, what happened is that this study mainly aimed at comparing use of solar cooler and vapor evaporative charcoal cooler in enhancing and maintaining quality of fresh produce. So I will take you through the abstract of this study very briefly. And as you can see, Doctor, there's something wrong with my screen. I don't know if there's a line on my on my slide. So this technology is really worrying. But anyway, I hope we will proceed. So French bean is a major export crop from Kenya. For those of you who are aware that it is one of the mostly exported fresh produce from Kenya into the international market. And majority of the beans that is exported from Kenya is grown by smallholder farmers. And this is estimated to be at the range of about 70%. So quality of French beans basically remains very important and is always greatly affected by, one, the duration it takes from the time of harvest, and also by the quality of the facility that is used for cooling. Majority of smallholder farmers use evaporative charcoal cooler, and for those of you who've seen that, is that evaporative charcoal coolers are made of charcoal, which basically happens to be unsustainable because for you to make charcoal, you have to cut down trees. So this study compared the efficiency of smart prototype solar cooler and the evaporative charcoal cooler. And the intention was to see if we could make use of solar energy in the rural areas where farmers have no access to electric grid, and in addition to ensuring that we save on the environment by avoiding to cut down trees to make charcoal coolers. So ideally, how this worked is that this study was carried out in Thika in one of the farms of one of the largest exporters of fresh produce, AAA growers, and we basically harvested produce as early as 7 in the morning, 7 a.m., but we subjected them to storage in two different storage methods. Some part of the product was stored in the charcoal cooler, and the other part was stored in the solar cooler for a period of about 8 hours, just to kind of give in, or rather assimilate the normal conditions that smallholder farmers would use in their rural areas where they do not have electricity. So basically, once these products were harvested, at the end of the day, they were moved to the pack house and treated in the normal way, that is, in the manner in which they get cooled and also packed in modified packaging, atmospheric packaging bags. And they were stored at a temperature range of about 4 degrees and 8 degrees Celsius. And at the end of the 7th day, we considered a number of parameters, and one of them was the production of oxygen and carbon dioxide, which we all know is basically associated with the rate of metabolism and also respiration. So we realized that products that were stored in the solar cooler, basically it experienced a lesser weight loss, only about 3%, as compared to those that were stored in a solar cooler that experienced a larger weight loss of 5%. In addition, the amount of carbon dioxide that was released in packs that were initially stored in charcoal cooler were higher than those that were stored in the solar cooler, indicating to an increase in respiration rate in the charcoal cooler storage. Well, as I said earlier, is that about 70% of the exported French beans is grown by smallholder farmers in different parts of Kenya, and sometimes in as far as 200 plus kilometers. And just so as to give you a bit of a brief background of why I decided to take these studies, for the last 18 years, I have been working in the fresh produce sector, and I was representing one of the largest retailers in the UK. I was in charge of Tesco, supply chain in sub-Saharan Africa. Then I realized that most of the farmers were suffering because it could take up to 23 hours from the time they harvest their product to the time they first get that product cooled. So what was the result? The result was that when this product got itself to the cold houses in Nairobi or Naivasha, the farmers were losing up to 50% of the yield. And this yield loss was not just only due to dehydration, but it was also due to other post-harvest diseases that are associated with abuse of temperature and humidity. So I thought and said, what can we do so as to impact on the livelihood of the farmers and save on this loss? So that's how this project came about. So what happens basically is that, as we all know, is that freshly harvested beans will continue to respire even after harvest. And this rate of respiration can only be either slowed or contained by way of cooling the product as soon as possible. So use of charcoal cooler, as I said earlier on, is very unsustainable because you have to cut down trees so as to make charcoal. So the overall objective of the study was to compare the effectiveness of smart prototype solar cooler and with that of evaporative charcoal cooler. As you can see on this slide here is that charcoal cooler is that one on the left, could be of the screen, where you have the iron sheet roofing, then you have the walls made of charcoal, then you have a water tank on top, through which we get water titrate down by gravity to moisten the charcoal so as to provide the evaporative cooling mechanism. Then on the right, we have, this is the prototype solar cooler. So this solar cooler was only about 200 kilo capacity, but we are now working on a plan to scale it up. We've applied for patency to see if we can scale it up with large exporters to see if we can now make it more user-friendly to farmer groups, because the intention is to build up to a minimum of 5-ton capacity where smallholder farmers in rural areas can come together and store their produce and pay as they store. So in terms of the materials and methods, so the solar-powered prototype cooler was designed based on some data that we collected from existing coolers, and mainly it was for meat and milk solar coolers. So it was based on the hotel behaviour model in terms of cooling, and basically it was designed to maintain temperature between 6 degrees and 9 degrees Celsius and to maintain carbon dioxide level below 3%. So it consisted of 2 chambers. We had the cold chamber and the produce chamber. And mainly the cold chamber was basically to ensure to keep, that's where we had a generation of ice, and through ventilation and use of fan, we could get the cold air blown from the cold chamber into the produce chamber. Then the rectangular walls was made of insulated expanded polystyrene board, EPS, which was sandwiched with a medium density fiber. Then we had the photovoltaic cells that were fitted on the roof, and basically that was used to generate electricity, which was converted to electric energy. As you can see, there are a number of components on this gadget. And if you look at the paper later on, these components was basically sourced locally, and this makes it very user-friendly in terms of construction. We did not import anything, so all the material that we used to make up this solar cooler was locally sourced. If we continue with materials and methods, is that the charcoal cooler was made of iron sheet roof, and the walls were made of charcoal, and the rest of the walls was just filled up with charcoal. Then we had the water tank there that was basically used to moisten the walls, providing an evaporative cooling effect, and most of the times, preferably to get the wind blow through. So in terms of the results, the difference in physiological weight loss was significantly different. As you can see on the table there, is that, for instance, for produce that was stored in the solar cooler, it only dropped weight from 500 grams to 490 grams in 6 hours, whereas that produce that was stored in the evaporative charcoal cooler had dropped up to 476 grams. So you can see basically that the solar cooler was very efficient in terms of maintaining product weight. If we go further to look at the effect of the cooling methods on the produce temperature, it is very clear that product that was stored in the solar cooler had more of a lower temperature throughout the period. As you can see, the ones in orange, the orange bars represents the product that was stored in the solar cooler, whereas the blue bars represents the product that was stored in the charcoal cooler. So on average, the product that was stored in the solar cooler maintained temperatures below 15 degrees, whereas the one that was stored in the charcoal cooler went all the way to 17.5 degrees. So again, if you look at further in terms of the effect on gaseous production, mainly carbon dioxide and oxygen, there was significant difference in terms of the volume of carbon dioxide produced between the two cooling systems. And as you can see, is that products that were stored in evaporative charcoal cooler produced more carbon dioxide, which is a sign that there was higher respiration and a metabolic rate. And as we know very well that if we increase metabolism in a product that has been harvested, is that deterioration rate will also be faster. So in terms of maintaining the shelf life and quality, then the solar cooler was more efficient in terms of better quality. So in terms of where I see the opportunity is that I think the study has demonstrated very clearly that there's an opportunity to make use of solar cooler in maintaining quality and shelf stability of produce for smallholder farmers in Kenya. French beans stored in solar-powered cooler experience much less weight loss in comparison to the charcoal cooler. And basically, what also we realize is that produce that was stored in solar cooler experienced a much lower temperature, which was very good for longevity of the shelf life. And as I mentioned as we started, is that because most of the smallholder farmers in Kenya who are contributing heavily to export market of French beans do not have access to electricity, it is a great opportunity for the government and investors in general to consider supporting these kind of initiatives. As you can see on that photo there, that is a trailer load of waste product, and most of that waste is going as a result of dehydration. That produce was produced from smallholder farmers spread across Kenya, but because of the lack of their capacity to cool the product, it would be rejected as soon as it arrived at the pack house. So in terms of conclusion, is that a fabricated solar-powered vapor compression cooler can maintain quality and freshness of French beans by reducing produce temperature, reducing the rate of metabolism, and creating a balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide during storage. So that that's typically how smallholder farmers harvest their product in the rural part of Kenya, and they move it into the charcoal cooler. So I would want to, at this point, to acknowledge those who really supported us during this study: Engineer Frederick Jura, Engineer William Koech, and we have Billy Mbembe, Nixon Mashati, and Fred Mkirote. And also, I want to thank AAA growers for allowing us to carry out this research in their farm in Thika. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much for that presentation. I think the message is clear. We will go direct to the next presenter, Professor Mudama. But before we go to the next presenter, we were supposed to take a snapshot. Are you all able to put on your camera so that we take a snapshot? I forgot about that. If you are able to do so, please put on your camera. Everyone, we just take a snapshot, then you go back to hibernating from the camera. Camera is not always easy to, okay. Now we are seeing some people with barakoa, which is okay. It means you are in a public area. I'm waiting for some people. Please just put it on for a short time, then we will let you mute
What
it
is
again.
this camera? Sorry, what is this camera?
Sarah is asking the camera. The camera is normally at your lower left. There is where you mute the next is a camera.
The video one, eh?
The video, yes.
Okay, am I seen?
Now you can see you.
Okay.
From where you are hiding.
Yes.
Okay, I think we can take with those who have put on. Just a minute. I think that's enough. We can go on. Professor Mudama, it is your time for presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abong. I'm going to share my, excuse me, my screen. Are we able to see it?
I can see it. I guess they should see it.
Okay, thank you very much. So the title of the presentation is Transition to Green Growth in Kenya, Horticultural Productivity, Fuel Consumption, and a Short-Lived Climate Pollutant Nexus. And as part of introduction, as I mentioned earlier, I work for the Wangari Maathai Institute, the University of Nairobi. So by way of introduction, Kenya's population is projected to be 95 million people by 2050. And this implies that food and water requirements will double, almost double the current situation where we are at about 50 million. So for us to achieve food productivity, sustainable food productivity, there is need for us to be more efficient and more sustainable. Of course, there are many studies that have been carried on the barriers to agricultural productivity. And various of these that have come out include land population pressures, agricultural research and development, And for this particular presentation, climate change has also been identified as one of the key factors, and soil fertility also. This paper is bringing in a thought on the nexus, the so-called nexus thinking to enhance food production systems, especially in Kenya. What do we mean by this? There's work by the Stockholm Institute of Environment, who started looking at the so-called nexus thinking, looking at water, food, and energy systems, all of them operating at the center. Then it is possible for us to isolate what are those societal issues or economic issues or environmental issues that need to come to play so that we can get equitable and sustainable growth. So this is the context of the paper. And I wish to refer to a paper by Laspodo of 2017, who brought in what they are calling the water, energy, food, land, climate nexus. And I'm looking at the top of this illustration. If we are going anti-clockwise, you start from water, water requirements in a food production system, coupled with energy, the E. Then there's, of course, the food production and the land issues connected to the climate. All of them act together and they cannot be seen independently. And this is the line of thought. Connected to that, a paper this year by Evol et al. Came up with a schematic showing 17 pressure groups that are important to be looked at. And I want to illustrate these ones very, very quickly. To the left, we have the land, we have the water, and we have the climate. The pressure groups are actually at the center. And the nexus thinking is such that we need to look at all these items together so that we can be able to understand what is the end result. So for this particular presentation, mine is just to look at a minor element on the climate, the carbon dioxide, from climate carbon dioxide, and it is coming to primary production. Then we see how can we improve on our primary production, keeping in mind that the land, the water, and the climate cannot be seen in isolation. So in this line of thought, then we see green growth as a feasible pathway. And when we talk of green growth, we are talking about ensuring that our natural assets, such as terrestrial, aquatic, and atmospheric systems, continue to provide resources and environmental services on which our well-being depends, even as we continue with economic productivity. However, as we do this, we have now the issue of carbon, the carbon challenge. We want to go low carbon, and research in the recent years, we have the so-called short-lived climate pollutants. And these include black carbon, methane, tropospheric ozone, and hydrofluorocarbons, basically fuel products. Now, why are we interested in the so-called SLCPs? Now, studies are telling us that the SLCPs, or the short-lived climate pollutants, are actually responsible for up to 45% of the current levels of global warming. And they are dangerous to not only to human health, to ecosystem, but also to agricultural productivity. This is an example of the effect of short-lived climate pollutants on plants, a study by Coalition on Clean Air, and showing that especially for African continents, there's an effect that may be seen as 3.5%. We have Europe around 18.4%, and so on. So this is an important area that needs to be understood. So the question that we want to ask ourselves in this study is, what is the link between horticultural production and short-lived climate pollutants? And this paper basically wants to evaluate the influence of horticultural productivity in Kenya on national fuel consumption and short-lived climate pollutants. So we are dealing with the fuel production and the horticultural productivity. So the data, we looked at 11 components, and I will quickly mention them. There's a vegetable commodity prices, the source Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. We also have fruit commodity prices, also Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And then we have a whole host of fuels, the light oil, jet fuel, motor spirit, kerosene, aviation gasoline. All of them is reported by Kenya National of Statistics, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And then number 11, we have black carbon. And the black carbon is, these are measurements, satellite measurements as national average. So these monthly values were collected and analyzed, basically exploratory analysis of correlation for the period 2012 to 2020 using Pearson correlation coefficients. And this is what we are going to present, several results. We start with the vegetable community prices, indicative, of course, of the horticultural productivity. So correlating this to oil production, we find interesting results that LPG seems to be quite significantly correlated to the vegetable commodity prices. So that's an indication that in the horticultural value chain, LPG is playing a significant role. And it, of course, now being responsible partly for increased carbon in the atmosphere, then that becomes of interest. So the values in red are these are correlation coefficients, and there are very strong correlation coefficients in LPG. There are also strong correlation coefficients in kerosene, and also for petrol and diesel, where we're calling it motor spirit, as the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics calls it. Now, looking at the one that has got the strongest correlation coefficient, the LPG, there's a scatter plot here. So commodity prices and LPGs. So as the commodity, as the prices go up, or as we increase in our commodities and the prices, we have increase in the use of LPG. So that's an indication that we need to think about the fuel usage, especially in the horticultural sector. Another one here is looking at all the fuels, total fuels, and vegetable commodity prices. There's also a very strong relationship with the coefficient of determination being 0.8. That's 80% variance explained, showing that there's really a contribution to the carbon in the atmosphere. Fruits commodity prices, again, the light diesel seems to be quite significantly correlated, and even heavy diesel oil, LPG also, and motor spirit, that is petrol, seems to be correlated every month of the year with the fruit commodity prices. And that's an important and interesting finding. Again, we look at the relationship between the commodity prices and the fuels, total fuels, and the variance explained is actually over 90%. This is a very strong correlation, showing that there's an association between the fuel usage and horticultural productivity in the country. So I come to the final analysis of the black carbon. Now, this is part of the pollutants that are affecting climate. The black carbon, we notice that particularly the month of February, increase in black carbon has got a negative relationship with the vegetable and the fruit productivity. There's a negative relationship which is a good thing in the sense that here we can think of carbon sequestration, especially for the fruit trees. We notice that the months of June, July, August seem to be significant for black carbon. Yeah, so increase in productivity is negatively related to the black carbon production in the atmosphere. So in terms of conclusion, there are a few things that we can draw from this analysis, that petrol and diesel are significantly correlated with horticultural productivity, and they have pronounced seasonality. And of course, there's also now the association between horticultural productivity and short-lived climate pollution. In this, we have looked at black carbon. So this means that the vehicular emissions connected to horticultural value chain need to be mitigated as Kenya transitions to green economy. Because as we talk about going to low carbon or zero carbon, then the question is, what is it that we can do so that we can see this signal minimized? Then total monthly fuel consumption is positively and moderately correlated with horticultural commodity prices. We also see this interesting finding that we are suggesting that fruit trees may be deemed to most likely be significantly contributing to carbon sequestration in Kenya. So this is an area where we can also pursue in terms of aiding towards green growth and low carbon productivity. Of course, we need more studies on carbon footprints in horticultural products in Kenya so that we can contribute to unravel the complex interrelationships in the energy, food, and the climate nexus. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Mudama. I think there could be questions. I would ask members just to write them or hold them on. I'll give you time to ask questions. Of course, it is something that I kept on thinking, how does oil relate to fresh fruits and vegetables? Oil, which is for fuel. But I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. So let me... Somebody needs to mute. So, Prof, we will come to question time, but for now, let me bring in the next presenter. If you stop sharing. So the next presenter in our list is Crispo Mutebi. Crispo, are you in? And I hope Duke is ready after Crispo. Members, we will have a time to discuss, don't worry. Is Crispo in? Linda, did you have Crispo online?
Yes, he was.
I'm not seeing him in the...
Let me check on him.
Okay, then we can have Duke. Duke, are you online?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Please go ahead, because then Crispo can come after you.
Okay, thank you. Members, good morning. Let me share my screen. And the work we did was on consumer survey. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair, and once again, good morning to all members, and welcome to our small presentation on consumer awareness on green consumerism, and this is in terms of their practices and purchasing behavior. This was to find out what is knowledge of Kenyan consumers, especially in relation to green consumerism. So in my introduction, of course, sustainable consumption and production practices as much as it's all about the environmental conservation and resources preservation, while minimizing waste and proper disposal, the consumer is at the center. Even if we do all this without consumer ideas or proper knowledge on what it entails, so it's almost a waste of effort. So we sought to know what Kenyan consumers' knowledge, and we conducted this, given that there is limited knowledge and limited research towards green consumerism, especially in Kenya. I know these are big concepts, especially in EU, but here we are still not that much into green products and sustainable consumption and production. So our methodology involved a questionnaire which was randomly administered to about 200 people, and these were 56% females, and the rest were 56% males, and the rest were females. And among these, we found that the youth were the majority, with about 35 and above being the minimum. And we used basically open data kit mobile tool collection methods. And this was within Nairobi County sometime back in 2019 around April. So generally, in terms of sustainable consumption and production practices, we found that only about 40% of consumers have got an idea of what this entails. And from this, we found that generally, fairly, there were no significant differences between the female and males on their knowledge of what sustainable consumption and production practices are. And really, most of these people are finding it to be some new terms and indicating some limited knowledge. In terms of familiarity with green products, and this you may want to know what is a green product. I know even amongst us, we may not really be able to define what a green product is or what a sustainable product is. We are inquiring from the consumers if they know what a sustainable product is, which means that a product within its life cycle, all the way from production to consumption and the life after consumption, that it should have environmental, social, and economic benefits while minimizing effect on the environment. And in the sense that it should also be reusable, it should be green and recyclable. While a green product, in essence, is a product that is minimized to reduce environmental impacts. And you can see the highlights there. Most of these guys never heard of what a sustainable product is, what a sustainable consumption was, or what green consumption was. And although people are familiar with green products, we found that they associate these products with high costs, and therefore you'll see later in the presentation that they look at it in terms of prices. Again, of course, a sustainable product or green product will come at a slightly higher cost, and therefore, yeah, most are of the opinion that they would rather not go for it. So on practices towards sustainable consumption and production practices, we found that 65% were of the opinion that it's the individual responsibility to ensure environmental conservation and protection. But about half of these did not know how the products they are consuming, or whatever they consume at home, whatever they buy from the shops, is going to affect the environment. And about 22 or 23% rather are fully aware that whatever they use or whatever they buy from the shops may have an effect on the environment. However, we also found that consumers are of the opinion that if there is need to increase consumer awareness amongst them, and this may involve environmental education programs. But of the key concern was that they were of the opinion that if you add financial incentives, then they would practice more on sustainable consumption and production practices. But this is a concern to us, even as policy determiners or the stakeholders in this RCP promotion. because if you put in financial incentive, then you find that people do it so as to be paid, and therefore it's not an alternative as of now. However, due to lack of knowledge, then there is need to promote this by creating awareness, maybe such platforms and media, stuff like that. Sorry, move to the next screen. So what are the factors that influence purchasing decisions? For consumers, if you look at the presentation there, only the one that had least effect on what determines the purchasing was the impact of products bought on the environment. And surprisingly, of course, most of the consumers were concerned with the price and the product quality and the brand loyalty rather than the impact. Among those we interviewed, about slightly less than 40% were of the opinion that I would rather buy a product, even if it's slightly expensive, a product that will have minimal effect on the environment. And therefore, at the end of the day, it won't matter for the most consumers that as long as there is a product that may be cheaper, they would rather go for it, regardless of what harm this would cause on the environment. And on the purchasing behavior, we found that about 10% are really keen on the green products that they purchase. And for most consumers, you find that about 40% would buy products, whether green or not. They have no knowledge on that. And slightly less than 35 would buy these products if the price was reasonable enough. But again, as we look at later, we found that the prices really were associated that there was the association that green products would have been more slightly expensive. And surprisingly, for those who would buy green products strictly, it's only about 10%. So the rest will never buy, or they rarely buy. And really, if you look at this, is that the reasons why these guys will not buy, the red circle there indicates that they were really concerned of the prices, and again, lack of information as being the major hindrances to buying green products. And again, this comes back to even us, as I know we may be informed of this because we are in such a platform. Personally, even when we go to buy your product, really the environmental factors usually come last, and somehow maybe it's the same trend in our market. So about slightly more than 50% either associated with high prices or lack of adequate information on what green products are, and this really influenced their purchasing decisions. So then there was the issue of eco-labels. We wanted to know whether consumers within Kenya are aware of what eco-labels are. And we found that the eco-labels, although there are more than 300 eco-labels at the moment, more than actually 325, they are just certifications that are in relation to sustainability, fair trades, and all other environmental concerns. And these are usually put on product labels. And however, eco-labels can only be effective where consumers are much more concerned with the environment. In our study, about only 21%, and these are those who are lucky, maybe among, I'm assuming in a place such as a rural setup, you may find that the number may even be lower. So although 70% of these guys would look at the labels, the diagram there is to indicate some of the eco-labels that a consumer aware, a consumer is aware of environmental effect would really look at. It's only about 27% of the respondents who would really consider this, and this is despite the educational level. So there was the educational level or the gender, really we found that did not really influence their purchasing decision in terms of the eco-label. And surprisingly, we also found that a number reported that they did not even understand what the eco-labels meant. And that shows that there's lack of this information, and maybe it's time we also move ahead and try to mobilize, try to simplify. For example, if you look at this, what does that mean? What does the label indicate? If I say eco, for a layman, they just look at it and think it's just a label like any other, but really we really need to promote this and maybe make it as easy to comprehend for the consumers. So there was no significant relationship between, of course, the education and the gender, and only 11% had trust on the eco-labels information. Most believed that it's hogwash, and as in whatever is put here for the local products in the market may not really be true, that the industry that has produced this product will be telling the truth. For example, if it is recycled bottle, most did not believe that really it is a recycled as such, or if it is declared it is organic product, we found that consumers say, no, we don't trust that. The funny thing is that Kenyan consumers really do not factor in energy ratings, the green credential, and or carbon footprints, and these were the lists in terms of scores for the consumers. And that shows that a majority of us, personally, I can admit, when I go to the shop, I'll buy a product, I may not really be keen on energy rating, because again, this goes back, like we've been looking at it, energy is one of those natural resources that we need to be careful on or look at. And these were some of the scores that we found in terms of the eco labels. You can see that at least about a third of the consumers were of the opinion that really they look at whether the product is recyclable, it is from environmentally conscious manufacturers, or if the product had proper disposal mechanism declared on the labels. However, you can see that for if the packaging, energy rating, the green credentials, and what amount of greenhouse is produced, these were the least concerns. And again, this comes back to us because this is what we really need to promote, and for these SCP practices to be sustainable, yeah, it is something we have to look at. So in terms of conclusion, we found that this concept is still low, green consumerism, and most consumers would really go for product quality and price rather than the environmental effects. However, we need to increase awareness and education. We only found that about 70% and above would get the information on environmental conservation from activists, environmental activists, or the media, and from there on, nothing really matters. And some of them, outside the discussions or the interview, would really admit that for me, if I buy my product, even if there is no proper disposal, I just throw out my thing or whatever the package, wherever it's convenient, because we really don't really care about what is around us. So we also need to see that processors develop affordable, sustainable products, and this should also be true as declared. The declaration on eco-labeling should be as true as possible, because you need to develop consumer trust. I can assure you, if you go today, even you personally, especially among us Kenyans, we see a product labeled organic, and we rarely believe that, because of course we know our environment, we know the scrupulousness of our traders and stuff like that. This work has been published. It is on our website, and I'll put this link on the chat. You can download the full reading so that you look at the in-depth analysis of what we found out from the survey. It is a publication. It's one of the publications on the Horti-Green website, and this project or this survey work was funded by the project, the Horti-Green. And thank you very much. Yeah, that was my presentation.
Thanks very much, Duke, for that insight. I think we shall have a time for discussion. Members, for us to have a time for discussion, let me take the last two, then we can have a discussion time, which is enough. Again, if you have any question, please put on the chat. We will take all of them. So next is Crispo online. Is Crispo now available? Crispo?
Hope you can get me.
Yes. Oh, you are the ICT services. Welcome.
Thank you.
You are able to share?
I hope you can see my presentation.
We are waiting to see it. Have you shared it? Have you shared your screen?
Yes, are you able to see it?
No. Linda?
Just hold on a bit.
Yes.
Are you able to, you have the presentation, Linda?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Crispo, do you want us to share it from here? Oh, there it is coming.
Okay, can I go on now?
Yes, please just make it a bit big so that we able to make it a slide presentation. There is something on top there telling you to do something. Either you activate or use, yeah, there you are, proceed.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a short presentation of the work that we did at thesis level. My name, I'm Crispo Maheti. I hope you are getting me.
Yeah, you are clear.
Okay. My name is Crispo Maheti Mutebi. I work at Calro Kibos. I'm a research scientist. So I want to present this work that I did for thesis at Maseno University. So as a way of introduction, the control of water hyacinths, we see that the luxuriant stem elongation and biomass of water hyacinths makes it have the tendency to compromise the economic use of the waters, as reported by Tobias et al. In 2019. This weed clogs water intake systems and blocks it from economic use, and therefore there's need for its control. And this has been even emphasized by Ambast et al. In 2017. So in the control of this weed, the development of new mycoherbicide formulations with vegetable oil work has been done, but this work has lacked standardized inoculum concentration. How much spore or how much inoculum, that whatever inoculum that you're using has not been clear. This has been even reported by Bertesky in 2018. So data on standard inoculum concentration for appropriate disease severity, disease instance, reduced shoot length, and biomass for hindrance of water hyacinth growth is lacking. This is the data that we need to have in the effort to control this weed. Two fungal pathogens, Merothecium and Sarcospora, both necrotrophic. Necrotrophic means that they actually destroy plant tissues. These two fungal pathogens have been identified as potential for the control of this weed. And that is Pierre et al. In 2016. So the study that I'm reporting here looked at the effect of corn oil spore concentrations of the two fungal pathogens on leaf spot disease, intensity on water hyacinth as a biocontrol strategy for this obnoxious weed. This study was based in a greenhouse, and then we had isolation procedure for the two biopathogens. For Sarcospora, we followed the descriptions of Jimenez 2010. For Merothecium, we followed the description of Piabun et al. 2016. These are just the protocols as described by these two authors. For each of the two pathogens, we had a separate way of isolating based on the authors that are highlighted. So preparation of corn oil spore emulsion of the two pathogens, we followed the method of Thailand 2014, and then by use of a hemacytometer and zero dilution, we are able to come up with a different corn oil formulations with different spore levels. The spore levels were 1 times 10 power 9. That was the highest. The lowest was 1 times 10 power 5 spores per ml. So we took healthy water-hyacinth plants and we inoculated these formulations upon them. And then we had a control that we did not inoculate at all. So we determined disease severity, but by weekly interval. Disease severity, we did it biweekly for 6 weeks, following the scale of an author called Mananthar et al. So when we got the disease severity scores, we converted them to area under disease progress stairs, following the descriptions of Simcoe and PFO in 2012. Determination of disease incidence, we also did it at biweekly interval up to the 6th week after inoculation. And this we did by expressing the total number of leaves showing infection as a percentage of the total number of fully opened leaves on the plants. We took the average shoot length for the treated basins and compared this lengths with the average lengths of the control plants according to the formula adopted by Robert and James in 1991. As for biomass, we followed the method of Dandy and Owotunze, 2002, by oven drying the weights of each of the treatments and then subjecting them to the comparison to the oven dried weight of the control plants. Then we analyzed the data. We analyzed the data using the SAS computer package. So the results, you can see that increasing the spore concentrations of both pathogens significantly increased the area under disease progress stairs. Actually, area under disease progress stairs is a measure of the progress of the disease, of the severity of the disease upon the plants. So on the in the table on the left, you can see that increasing the spore concentrations for both pathogens significantly increased the area under disease progress stairs, which means the volume of diseases on the plants increased. And for both pathogens, as the time at biweekly intervals increased, there was a, or that would have said, the results of these results actually agree with the findings of Piabun et al., who did similar work. And we see that pharmacolonization of the host plants takes time. As the time increases, you can see that at 2 weeks, at week 2, week 4, and week 6, as the time increases, actually the disease is also progressive and is increasing. So as for disease incidence, the same scenario was witnessed, such that increasing spore concentrations for both pathogens increase the disease incidence at all biweekly intervals. You can see that the highest disease incidences for both pathogens for Sarcospora was 82.23, and for Myrothesium was 88.90. These results actually suggestive of the fact that the disease spread as the pathogens were able to establish the plants. And the results also agreed with the findings of Mengden and Han in 2002. As for corn oil formulation on relative shoot length, there was again a significant increase in relative shoot length with increasing spore concentration for both pathogens. The highest relative shoot length were 55.07, 55.07 and 51.93 at spore concentration of 1 times power 10 times 9 times 10 power 9 spores per ml for Sarcospora, the Merothecium respectively. And the result, we can see that suggestive of the fact that inoculation suppressed shoot elongation as compared to the control plants for which no antagonist have been applied. As for relative biomass, it was observed that as the concentration level of both pathogens increased, there was a significant increase in relative biomass. It means that the biomass actually went down by a big margin. You compare the biomass for the control plant and the biomass for the treated plants, you can see that there's the relative biomass changed. These results were in agreement with the findings of Admas et al. 2017, who reported that fungal pathogens cause disease upon water hyacinth plants, and this reduces biomass. So as a conclusion, we are able to conclude that these two pathogens actually have a potential of being used to lower the growth of water hyacinths and make the waters accessible for economic use. And conway formulation with spore concentration of 1 times 10 power 8 and 1 times 10 power 9 were actually seen as effective, and they are potential for formulation in corn oil for the use of the control of this weed, so that we can actually clear the waters for economic use, for agricultural use, and for horticultural use. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the small presentation.
Thank you, Bwana Crispo, for the presentation. Can we take the last presentation, then we go to discussion? I will welcome Martin. Martin, if you are in, so you can stop sharing, Crispo.
Yes, yeah.
So that we see if Martin can come on. Martin, are you in?
Yes, I'm in, Doctor.
Please share your screen and proceed. The rest of us, I request again that you mute, because I can hear some background noise. Somebody has mic on and they don't know.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
I'll take a minute to introduce myself, because yeah, so as I was saying, the seeds of this tree are used as food, because most of it is used to prepare cakes. And so my main concern is what remains. What remains, like looking at production of this crop, you'll find that Africa generates about 26,000 tons annually. They contribute to the global contribution of food. This is information from FAO, that Africa contributes about 26,000 tons of this crop. And the world, actually, on average, we have about 130,000 tons annually. Yeah, so it is actually really produced, and it's an economical plant. And I think also Kenya, we might look at it, because it is available, but we have not really used it as food from my researches. And we don't even export it, but it's available. So as I was saying, this plant produces pods similar to other legume plants. The only difference is that this is a legume tree. It grows tall to about 20 meters. And then once we remove the seeds are different from the ones like from bean, because these ones are enclosed in a pulp. The yellow thing is a pulp. So inside that yellow thing, yellow pulp, we have the seeds inside. So the yellow pulp is used as food, and the seed is also used as food. So I'm concerned about this pod that remains. You see, it's very hard, and we cannot feed it to animals, and we cannot, there are several uses of this, the pod itself after removing the seeds. So, and you can see it's very tough, meaning that it has so much fibers. So that's where I'm really concerned, because the tougher this plant can be, or this waste, then it means it can be used in other areas, so that we use the crop fully. We don't throw away these pods. We can use them in other applications. Yeah. So how did I do this review? I did a literature collection by using database searches like Google Scholar, the Web of Science, and Science Direct, where I used some keywords, actually 2 keywords, the locust bean pod ash and the coral pod ash, because the plant is either known as locust bean or coral. So that's why I used the 2 names, so that I combined all the researches on that. And then within the time frame was open-ended up to September 2020, where I was writing the review paper. Then the subject area was on engineering, and specifically materials, and then the language English. And then after that, after getting those searches, I had to screen them so that I exclude publications that are not an article, a review, or conference paper, or a book. And then I went further to do the literature evaluation, where I concluded and made a few recommendations. So how is this pod used? Generally, the pod can be left, it decomposes, and it can be applied as manure, as it's shown in some literatures. And then also found out that it can be used in production of volatile fatty acids. It is also used, this is the pod itself without burning it. You have not burned it to ash, but you are just using the pod as is. So some people have also developed, they are using it to develop friendly particle boards. Particle boards are mostly for construction and in the furniture industry. And then it is also used to produce some acids, ethanol production of the pod if it's not dry, the green ones specifically. And then we have also, it's used as a bioabsorbent for clean recovery of heavy metals, and a natural antioxidant in food utilization. Some of these are under study, they are not under industrial applications. And then further now, with me now, I go further and get the pod and produce what we call the locust bean pod ash, so that I look at now the applications of the ash. So as I said, it comes from the tree, the carob tree or the locust bean tree, and then it has pods and the leaves, and then you can see the pods, and then the pods are opened to remove the seeds and the pulp, which goes into the food industry where people feed on it, produce cakes and all manner of food stuffs. But now the waste goes the other side. The pods are now a concern to me, where we use these waste pods to prepare actually the ash. Generally, there are several ways of producing the ash, by burning either under controlled conditions or under just in the atmosphere. But generally, when you burn the ash, and the chemical composition of that ash shows that it has more of silicon oxide on average. This is from different researches, and I have taken the average composition of that ash, and you find that it has more of silicon oxide. This is a very key element in construction or in engineering applications, because when you look at a simple product like cement, which all of us know, silicon oxide is a main element in cement. So meaning that if this bean pod ash has a lot of silicon oxide, then it, and that is the link we are trying to follow. So how is this locust bean pod ash used? Through literature, it has been used in cement blends or mortar. It is also being applied in nanotechnology, in production of other construction materials, then synthesis of other materials, and its soil stabilization. As I said from my previous slide, that being the silicon oxide being more than 40% in all studies done by different researchers, you'll find that is a key component in concrete 100% cement, and we know the effects of using cement. Cement production is not sustainable because we produce a lot of carbon dioxide during its manufacturing, and we know what carbon dioxide does to our environment. And also that cement is expensive. You can imagine going to buy cement, but you can just take some of this agricultural waste we throw away, and actually it has performance like cement. So in concrete production, this locust bean pod ash has been used to replace cement. So you don't put cement in that concrete, but you put this ash, and it has been confirmed from several researchers in the entire paper that indeed locust bean pod can be applied in a concrete production. And concrete is a very key material in construction. When we go to mortar production, the same. We know mortar, the difference between mortar and concrete is that mortar has only sand and cement. But concrete has sand, ballast, and cement. So in mortar also, studies have been done to say that it's indeed possible. Rather than wasting this locust bean pod, we can actually burn it, and then we get the ash, and then the ash will replace cement in production of mortars. In nanotechnology, as I said, the silicon oxide. This locust bean pod has these components, and we can also produce nanoparticles from this ash. For instance, I may need silicon oxide nanoparticles, and these nanoparticles are used in nanotechnology in doing so many things, including in concrete industry. And as the world is now evolving, we need these advanced materials. So you'll find that most researches have been done to actually prove that we can extract, because it already has these elements. It has silicon, it has aluminum, it has iron, it has calcium, magnesium, and all those elements. It's possible that we can produce the corresponding nanoparticles from this locust bean pod ash. Yeah, so that is how it is applied in nanotechnology, by producing those particles. And then in production of construction products, as I said, that we need additives in construction, whereby we can use the ash in producing other components, as I talked about cement, as I talked about mortar, and also we can blend it in producing clay products and the ceramics, where ceramics also require silicon oxide. So the silicon oxide is found in this bean pod ash, so we can use that silicon oxide in production of ceramics, tiles, and all those things. So that is what has been done by other researchers. And in manufacturing, you will find that because this element has those oxides, it's possible to blend it in other materials when you are doing manufacturing. And we know that in manufacturing, if you can have cheaper materials in your production chain, then it's possible that your product will be of good quality and cheaper. Hence, you'll make profit. So that's why it is possible that in the manufacturing industry, people can use this product to increase strength, especially in production of metals. If you have the companies that produce metals or metallic products, they can use this ash in adding to their metals where we want them to be carbonized or something, so that they become of good quality and strength. And as I said, specifically of that silicon oxide, we know the silicon oxide offers strength. So if you are producing metals and you add components of this locust bean pod ash, it is actually strengthening those metals and other items which you are producing, metals. And then we talked about soil stabilization. When we are doing roads, when you build roads, one, you can find that you go places where we have loose soils. We have worked on some roads which are not doing very well. They have potholes, they are muddy. So meaning that those roads are on bad soils. So roads on bad soils will always fail. They will not perform. So what is done is that normally you can use cement to mix with the soil to make it better. But as I said earlier, cement is expensive. Cement is not sustainable. So we can use this waste actually and use it as cement to stabilize bad soils. And then those soils we can use for rural roads, because we know most of the rural roads are not paved, meaning that they are not of tarmac. So it's possible that so many researches have been done to prove that locust bean pod ash can be used to stabilize these soils and hence building good roads. So this could be a good thing in the rural areas, because now you have waste, you have taken this vegetable, you have taken the food, you have eaten, then the pod remains. All you need to do is burn, mix with soil, you have good soil, and you can use it to construct roads and other things that require soils, meaning that you have made the soil very strong and you can apply it in construction. And then synthesis, I have talked about it in terms of
Martin, could you wind up please, because of time?
Okay, so and then we have also other sources for the same material. In conclusion, actually it has been proven that this waste can be used as a green and sustainable material with several applications. And the review revealed that this ash has so many applications in construction, manufacturing, and nanotechnology. And then I go forward and recommend that further studies can be done on this bean pod ash in other areas like pharmaceuticals and the application actually in horticulture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all presenters. We have shot a little bit on time, but we are not very bad off. I think it is time for discussion. Probably we will take a round of questions and then the presenters can answer. Please, when you want to give a question, you can direct it to a specific person. But before that, I can see there are some chats. So Martin, why is the plant called locust bean? That is the first one. And number two, is there somewhere that this industrial application of the ash has been made so that it is something ongoing? Then I can also look at from the charts, James Mwangi is to CRISPR. What is the risk of the spores from the C. pyrope and M. roridum becoming problematic in other grown crops later in future if their infection to agricultural production is not taken care of? Then I can see from, I'm just reading from the chart. There was also from James to Professor Mudama. Now this was a comment, the relationship between fuel use, prices, carbon footprint in fruits and vegetables as a very important point that require attention. I think that was a comment. Then there was a question from Zio. Yes. There was a question that the fruit trees, other fruit trees contribute to carbon capture. However, this study did not address other types of trees, because Professor Mudama, you talked of the fruit trees and you didn't talk about the other types of trees, if they can also be useful going forward. And again, this paper could be very important to come up with a policy brief, because it is a forecast of the future. Okay, I think that is Professor Mudama who was giving a side. So I think I've tried to read what was on the chat. Maybe if I've forgotten, you can also bring it up. Maybe Martin, can you tackle the ones that have been directed to you before I pick other questions?
Sure. Yeah, why the plant is called locust bean. This plant is normally used when we have famine. People don't eat it during good times when food is in plenty. No, it's used while every other resource has been depleted. So it is the only plant that remains during famine period, and it's used as food during that time. Exactly why it's called locust, I think I'll still look at its etymology and the development of the word locust. But the korab comes from the Mediterranean region, from the Arab. It was adopted from the Arabic language. So I still need to look at that. It's a good thing. I'll look to why it is called locust. But presumably, being a drought or a famine plant, it has to have some relationship with locust. Another question about the application of this bean pod ash in a actual industrial application. There are several. The several applications I've mentioned. Some of them are under study. They are not in industrial application, but one that is being applied is on production of nanoparticles. Nanoparticles are
Did we lose him?
Sorry, I was muted. So in most of these researches are still ongoing. It's a new phenomena. It is not an old technology, so it's still under development. And we hope that as we go more, we will start sensitizing. As I said, this is my PhD study. So we want to sensitize Africa, not to look for expensive materials, but we have materials that can be used on their doorstep. So it's under study and not mostly in industrial application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any question from the floor? If we can go ahead, clarification.
Yes, Chair, can I ask or make an observation, please?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very good work has been done in this forum with all the related people who've participated. I am a student in the University of Nairobi at the moment. I am a nutritionist, dietitian by profession. And my observation, excuse me, my observation mainly is that we are people of one family. When you come to food technology, production, and areas nutrition, food security. So for me, it would be nice to see what your innovations, your products, what they translate to in human persons. It is a family. Like we borrow your concepts when we are making our food products to feed our children. It would be interesting if we are in one umbrella, trying to target, when you produce your mangoes and you dry them and make a product, wouldn't you want to know what I did with it in a hospital and what it translated to? I think there's a divorce and a disconnect between the two areas. And in science, I think if you said you want inclusivity and to see how consumption is sustainable, let's move a step ahead. And always when you are doing your concepts, incorporate the dietitians, the nutritionists, so that your product, you can look at it from the end and see what it translated to. And that way you will see the good work indeed that all of you have been doing. I beg to leave because I'm going to another forum, but I've really enjoyed staying from morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I think that is an observation and a comment which is valuable. Any other person?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Who wanted to speak? Okay. So I think then if there are no further questions, Marion, did you have anything else? And Professor Mudama?
No, I just want to thank everyone who participated in the conference this morning, and I hope that everyone will come back tomorrow to learn a lot of research on the SCP practices in the food value chain. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Professor Mudama.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bong. Mine again is to say thank you to all of us as participants for the active participation. And I believe this is really fruitful to all of us. And thank you for staying in. And tomorrow we have another also equally interesting day, and also the final day. Thank you very much.
So thank you, everyone. Tomorrow we begin with a keynote from 9 from Director Wangari Maathai Institute for Peace, for Environment and Peace. Please do not miss. We will hope to start in time. So tomorrow we are starting early, 8:30 to 9 we are joining and settling. We can have an informal discussion. And then we have that keynote address, and then we will have water governance issues, energy and use, which are work ongoing within the MSMEs. And then there will be cost-effective banana and waste and welfare of banana farmers in Kenya. And then we'll be looking at what is going on again at the MSMEs. Then we will come back and look at the SCPs going on and the benefits of investments and the challenges of adoption of these SCPs, in this case, in Kenya. And then the formulation of acceptable products from the leaves. And so I think there is a good quantity and quality of information that we can exchange tomorrow. I take this opportunity to thank you very much. It is not always easy to be online for this amount of hours. Thank you very much. I hope we will meet tomorrow and continue to